I said, hey, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. We're gonna drink a fine whiskey and smoke a really fine cigar.
It is time for happy hour. It is the Man Cave Happy Hour. Whiskey, cigars, spirits, the stories that go along with it. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
I am Matt Fox.
And just like the sign says behind us, it's a podcast for everyone.
It really is.
We had a big old banner, and it says it's a podcast for everyone. And to prove that point, once again, we're bringing on somebody just way better at bourbon than us and way better looking. So that's coming up in just a second. We're going to get to that. And but before we do that, we just want to thank everybody taking the time to stumble into the Man Cave with us. And please like, subscribe, collect, follow.
Yeah.
It's funny. I always look for the stalking button, and I because that's kind of my jam. And there's not one in there usually, most of them, but it's collect or follow, or
collect or follow.
Ring the bell. Makes me want to go get tacos.
When you start your own streaming service, you can put a stalking button in there if you want.
I will. I'm going to. Yeah. I'd like to stalk this podcast, please. Well, and after today, people might be stalking the Man Cave. All right. Anyhow. So it's a podcast for everyone, and the thing is, our guest today, just right out of the polar vortex,
and she kind of shared it with us.
The power is back on, and it's right out of Buffalo, New York. It's the Buffalo Bourbon Babe.
Yep.
Rachel, welcome to the Man Cave.
Hello. Hi, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely a pleasure. You came across my timeline. I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook, and I was just jealous. You pose with some of the most amazing bourbon bottles, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And then it turns out you work at a place that doesn't even focus on bourbon.
I do, which is like the weirdest thing about it is I've always worked, traditionally with bourbon. Mm-hmm. My most recent endeavor has been with Lockhouse Distilling, and we actually focus on gin. So it's been quite a 180 for me.
Right. So, but before we get to all that, Rachel, we want to backtrack a little bit. Yeah. And Rachel, tell me about your childhood.
Oh, my childhood. Ooh, we're going deep dive on this.
Yeah, we are.
I'm actually not from Buffalo.
Oh,
really
okay.
Funny. I'm from Long Island. I don't have an accent though, which is really amazing. Mm-hmm. I feel like I don't really have a Buffalo accent either though. We have like that really nasally, like the A's are super nasally, and I'm like, I don't really have a Buffalo accent, but I don't have a Long Island accent. But yeah, I'm actually originally from Long Island, moved to Buffalo when I was about 8. And here we are, still in Buffalo, still doing it, still dealing with the cold. But we got to 40 degrees today.
So did we.
Plus, because the other day it was 1 degree out here.
So was it here?
Yeah.
God, it is brutal. Like, it has been such a mild winter here. And then as of recently, it's been horrible. And we're supposed to get another storm tomorrow into Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how are we going to go from 40 to snowstorm? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I know, because I teach high school for a living. Yeah. And so the game on, Rachel, because I just got the call that there's a snow day tomorrow.
Oh,
so Mr. Flanagan does not have to go. I don't have to put on the Mr. Flanagan costume.
All right. Good night, everybody. Have a good one. Appreciate it. I'm leaving.
So, that means I don't have to behave myself, although I do have to get an Uber home. So,
right. Yeah.
So that's kind of the game plan with that. So, so what brought you into the world of spirits? What was your first experience with spirits? Because you said you did work with some bourbons.
I did. So actually, when I was about 22, 23, I started working as a promotional model for Jack Daniels and Deep Body Vodka, again, a vodka though. So pretty much was doing a lot with Jack Daniels. Really worked my way up, and there's a distillery in Rochester called Black Button Distilling. They do bourbon. They do an Empire Rye for New York State. They focus heavily on bourbon. They do have like a bourbon cream, which is phenomenal, as well as like a gin and vodka. So I applied to that position. Like I felt like I didn't really have the background in it. I've never done sales for a distillery. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get this. Like, it was on a whim. I just applied. I ended up getting the job, and I was like, okay, now what do we do? So now I'm in the world of bourbon, like fully into it. And I was working with them for a while. Was at one of my accounts, which is actually a whiskey bar. It's called Lucky Day. It's here in Buffalo. It's one of my favorite places to go. It's one of the best whiskey accounts here. They have over 500. It's just a wall of whiskey. You walk in and it's overwhelming, but amazing. So I went in there to drop off some product one night, and this man was sitting at the bar. I was sitting by myself, and he's like, oh, like, are you here alone? And I was like, yeah, like, this is one of my accounts. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, well, like an account with work. I work with them. They carry a lot of my products. He's like, oh, I'm in town from Jersey, explaining I'm in from work, this, that, and the other thing. I was recommended to come here. So I'm like, you know what? Let me buy you a cocktail. I'm like, let me, give you the good old Western New York welcome. And he's like, I want to hire you. And I'm like, sir, I don't know what kind of lady you think I am. And he's like, no. I actually am the, Northeast Territory Sales Manager of Devil's River Whiskey out of San Antonio.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, right place, right time situation. So I ended up signing a contract with them, worked for them as a New York State Territory Sales Manager up until when COVID hit. Things just kind of went downhill from there. I got furloughed. Then there is a distillery in Rochester called Iron Smoke Distilling.
Oh my goodness.
I got picked up by them as, the pretty much upstate New York sales rep, and was with them for about 6 months. I got poached by Lockhouse, and now I'm with gin, which again, it's been such a different transition, but it's almost kind of nice because bourbon's like my hobby. It's what I like to do on my downtime. I found that when I did work for a bourbon distillery, like having it as a hobby and having it 24/7 is so much. Like, it's a lot, because then it's like work is hobby and hobby is work, and you don't get downtime and you almost get frustrated. So I've been in this industry probably since I've been 22. So it's been, over 10 years now. It all started out with me applying to work for Jack Daniels and moving my way up to now I'm the director of business development at a distillery in Buffalo, which has been kind of cool.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So
really
the distillery that you're at now I didn't see a whiskey in the stable, is there?
No, there's no whiskey in the stable.
Okay.
So we do a barrel-aged gin. We have the longest barrel-aged gin in the U.S. at 4 years and 42 days.
Okay.
It's the closest thing that we're going to probably get to a whiskey at this point. We've tossed the idea around back and forth, but in my opinion, the last thing that New York State needs is another bourbon from MGP, because it would have to be sourced, or a rye, or a whiskey. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this area. There is a really amazing distillery called Hartman's Distilling, which is a few roads over from us. They are MGP sourced, but they are working on their own. But it's like, what? We have such great distilleries in our backyard here. Why try and bring on more products when we have a solid core? Our slogan is drink more gin. So why add another, here, we're going to throw this into the mix that we sourced. That's kind of my thoughts on it. I know a lot of people have different opinions on that, but why are you going to buy a New York State whiskey when you can get one from Kentucky for a lot cheaper? That's my opinion on it.
Rachel, I got to tell you. Yeah. A few years back, 3 years ago, Jamie's walking down the street, and he was in a kind of a crabby mood, and he's walking down the street with his bride, and she's like, "You're in a crabby mood. Grab a bourbon, grab a cigar. We're going for a walk." So he's out there walking around, and he's getting non-crabby. And he looks down at his hands. He's got a bourbon in one hand and a cigar in the other. And he goes, I need to learn more about this. Yeah. And just out of the blue, he pulls Man Cave Happy Hour. And he goes online and he looks it up. And goodness gracious, the domain is available. So he purchases the domain. And then he calls me
on his walk.
And he calls me and he goes, hey, you want to do a podcast with me? And I said, what's it called? He said, Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, I'm in. He didn't have to say anything else because we wanted to learn about bourbon and whiskey and spirits and everything. And that's one of the things that we really want to understand is how people go about their process of making the spirit itself.
Yeah.
We've been to many distilleries around Detroit, Michigan area, and we've talked to a lot of distilleries across the world. We talked to one distillery out of Israel, right?
Oh,
but we want to get on the road is one of the things that we really want to do.
Yeah.
Go around to different distilleries and visit different spirits. And that's one of the things we want to take Man Cave totally on the road in the next, I would say over the next year and a half or so.
Yeah. Now that we can actually do that.
Yeah. Now that we can, right?
Right. Now that everything's kind of opening back up again.
Yeah.
So and that leads me to the question, when you post bourbon, post whiskey career, what is one of the things that you miss or that you really enjoy about the whiskey now and the bourbon now?
I mean, I miss a lot when it comes to like working with it because I know with Black Button, with Iron Smoke, like I knew the distillers. I could literally pick their brains about things and go into the distillery and even help them distill for a day. Really see the process of it, the barreling process, the aging process, go into a rick house, which is amazing to see in person because a lot of the times you see those things when you go to the Bourbon Trail. You don't really see them every day, and it's very guided. This was very like I could wander around, I could do what I want to. I miss that side of it. I like the side of it that I'm still enough in the industry that the bottles that everybody sees me posing with, they're accessible for me to find because I've built these relationships over the years with these stores.
Right.
Do I see some Pappy on the shelf behind you?
Yeah. You see some old
the old Fitz.
Here we go. Yeah, these are one of our nice shelves. This is a nicer shelf that we have going on right here.
Bunch of
got the new Stag 17 on there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
That's a spicy meatball right there. Yeah.
That's honestly, I was never a Stag Junior fan. It was too spicy for me. It was too hot. Like the proof was too high for me. Christmas Eve, I was like, you know what? I want to revisit this because everybody talks so highly of it. And I revisited it and I'm like, wow, this is nice. Like, I like this. I like these spicy bourbons. So I'm getting more into the higher proofs. But I feel like one of the things that's been great for me is like, I can go to other distilleries and the distillers and the owners recognize me. They'll be like, hey, do you want to try? We're doing this, like give it a go. And they're like, if you're looking for a new job, and I'm like, I'm very happy. I'm very happy, like I love what I do. I love my distillery. I love the owners. I love my distiller. Like it's been fun though with gin to see how that's distilled versus bourbon. It's like a 180, but it's almost not because the botanicals to me are like the mash bill of a bourbon.
Right.
So it's been interesting. It's a really different transition in the best way possible.
So it's so the bourbon bottles, right? You said you got some old Fitz back there and some Pappy, and you're very, very active on Instagram, and you do these you get fun little Q&As.
Except for I literally went into I got a sponsorship today with a cigar lounge. They sponsored me, which is super cool because I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing to happen to me. And I walk in, and he's like, what's your favorite bourbon? Because every single person asks you, what's your favorite bourbon all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, do not ask me my favorite bourbon. Please don't ask me my favorite
And what's the proper way to drink it?
I always do neat. I never do on the rocks. And some guy today was DMing me. He's like, should I be drinking it neat? And I'm like, honestly, I'm here to tell you, you are welcome to enjoy bourbon however you want to. You want it in a cocktail, put it in a cocktail. You want it neat, do it neat. You want to put it in the freezer and drink it like that. However you enjoy it is how it's meant to be enjoyed. And I'm like, don't let anybody ever tell you differently. Don't let people look down on you for putting ice in it, water in it, whatever you want to. That's like my biggest issue is now people like the bourbon snobs that are like, oh, if you're not drinking it straight, like leave people alone. Bourbon's meant to be enjoyed with friends.
Yep.
Stop. Just stop.
So it's we always, whenever we try something, we always start it out neat.
Yeah.
Usually in the evening though, because I teach high school and I got to be up early, and Are you drunk again, Mr. Flanagan?
I
No,
was drunk yesterday.
I'm
Yes.
hungover today.
But
So
there's
I'm
a difference, kid. You'll understand in a few years.
it's movie night.
Mhm.
And so I'll usually do like I'll fill a glass with ice and then do a pour over that because it lasts longer and I'm not doing two. So
Oh yeah.
I try to behave myself. So
Yeah, I'd start limiting myself. The last podcast I did, I drank literally a half a bottle of Eagle Rare in 2
Oh my
hours.
goodness.
Oh God, it was so bad. Like it was just not a good night. Then I decided to open my Old Fitz and my Elmer T. Lee and mix them together.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
how'd
Wasn't the
that
best
go?
little- I was
Well, after
I
a half
was-
bottle of Eagle Rare, who could freaking tell, right?
But yeah, I was like, oh, this is really good. Like great. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Who told
Yeah.
me that this was okay? Who let me? And it was a Monday night too. It was a school night for me.
Oh.
I had an early day on Tuesday to spin class at 7 a.m.
Mm.
School nights that I thought it would be okay. And surprisingly, the next day, I drank a bunch of water and took some aspirin before I went to bed.
Mhm.
I was fine the next day. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm concerned because I'm not.
See, at your young age, you can do that. At
Yeah.
our age, that doesn't work.
Yeah. I got hard miles on me. That ain't gonna.
It's
The
not gonna
tappins be a
fly.
tapping. So
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
oh my goodness. So, but in the Instagram, very very active on the Instagram,
Yeah.
and some really fun Q&As that you do. And one of the things you said is there's some of these bottles you just won't open.
Yeah.
What
that's
bottle
true.
do you have that you just won't open, and what?
So
Because
this
apparently
one,
it wasn't the Fitz. I thought it was the Fitz.
no, it's
Well,
honestly the Weller, the CYPB.
Yeah.
It was so difficult for me to get this. They did not release it in New York State. Well, in my area, they weren't released this year.
Okay.
That is one that like I need something like monumental to happen to open it.
All right.
The Old
Like
Fitz
finding
was
a backup.
like until I can find a backup. And I'm really open about that too. I'm like, if I don't have a backup of something, it probably won't crack it open if it's something I can't find. But like the CYPB was the most difficult bottle for me to find. And I actually ended up going into one of my accounts at work and I knew they had it. And I was like, hey, will you sell me a CYPB? And they're like, you want one? I'm like, can I have one? They're like, well, we can't sell it to you for retail what we sell it for because we'd feel bad. I'm like, right, because I don't want to pay $700. And he's like, no. He's like, you know what? You always do well by us. You always come in here. You help us out. You're in a good mood all the time. Sure, we'll sell it to you. They sold it to me. I was sitting in my car with it, like holding it. And I'm like, how do I own this? Like, this is mine. This is really mine. Like, I really own this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I own this. And it was
He's dancing like it's the
I
Nutcracker.
literally was like, yeah, like a major award, like when the major award in A Christmas Story. That was like me.
It's a major award.
It's a major award.
It's a major award. That
So
was
did
me.
you do the gratuitous crotch shot there in the car as well that people do all the time?
You know what? I don't ever do crotch shots. I'll like
Good.
hold it up by my steering wheel, but I'm like, I see people like put their phones or their watches, and I'm like, I have an Apple Watch, so like I don't have anything that cool. Like these people with like their Rolex, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not on that level. Like if I had a cool watch, I might do a crotch shot with like a cool watch in it, but like I don't have a cool watch. I don't have a cool car. I drive a GMC Terrain, so I'm not like, oh, look at my steering wheel and my watch. I'm like, look at my GMC and my Apple Watch that I use to track fitness. For being completely honest, like, so no, I didn't take a crotch shot. Like, it's funny because that's like a running joke in like one of my group.
So what about, tell us a little bit about Lockhart. You got poached by them. They said, we need you. And what was it about them that you were like, I need to be there?
So actually funny with Lockhouse, I ended up, when I was with Black Button, the director of business at the time had wanted me to work for them. And I was like, you know what? I'm really happy with Black Button. I don't want to leave. So again, revisited it when I was at Devil's River, met with Corey, and he was like, you know, we want to have you for events and stuff. You're really good at it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm with a national brand now. I want to stay with it. What I love so much about Lockhouse is the distiller, Brian, and I have been friends since we've been like 14. Like, I've known him since I was 14 years old. I loved the fact that it's been like pretty much primarily, there's three silent partners. It's been the same people. And they were like, hey, we don't have time to run this. We're giving it to you. Run it how you want to. And I'm like, really? They're like, we don't know anything about the distilled spirits industry. We know our bits and pieces, but we don't know what it's going to take to make it successful. And honestly, that was so appealing to me because I feel like I've always been like a sales rep, a territory sales manager, a brand ambassador, a promotional model, but I've never actually had the reins to run with and really run a distillery how I see fit. And I mean, I've been in this industry for over 10 years. I've seen things that Jack Daniels has done that has been amazing. I've seen flops. I've seen a lot of stuff. And I feel like at this point, I know what works and what doesn't, especially in my market. So that was so appealing to me. And just like the two silent partners that I deal with the most, I love them so much. They're fantastic. They're not fake at all. And they're not like, oh, you know, like you're doing a great job and not meaning it. And they're not hands off, but they're very like, you know what, we trust you, do what you want to do. So I'm like, all right, cool. And so far nothing's caught on fire. They haven't made us bankrupt. So things have been good. We're doing great now. So yeah. And you know, like our sales are up 170% since I've started. So it's been really good. It's been a really good thing.
Yay.
But to have
like our sales, our case sales for last month. Last year we sold 36 cases in January. This year we sold 115. So we're doing good. We're doing really great. I'm excited.
Yeah. So
for that opportunity to go from the ground up pretty much when it comes to that spirit, that just had to be an amazing experience. And you're doing so well, and whatever you've done is working. So what's next? What's going to be happening over the next couple of years for the distillery?
Honestly, like we're focusing right now, we potentially may put out a few new products. Obviously not going to be bourbon, not going to be whiskey. As much as I love it, I just, you know, we're a gin distillery. That's what we did. We were actually the first distillery in Buffalo since Prohibition too. So that's kind of our claim to fame, is we were the original ones in Buffalo. We're the oldest distillery in Buffalo. You know, we closed down our bar with the pandemic, but we're hoping to reopen by spring. So, you know, we're hoping to get the bar up and running. We're really just hoping to grow everything, get into a bigger space, and we want to be on a national level. That's kind of my personal goal, is to take the distillery next level. Like we're in a few different states. I'm going to DC next, well, this month, it's February. I'm going to DC in a few weeks to really reopen that market because we have a Sakura gin, which is cherry blossom. They have the second largest or the first largest in the U.S. cherry blossom festival. Buffalo's the second largest. But you know, like we just want to be on a national level. Our coffee liqueur is fantastic. That's like our flagship spirit, which distilled with 13 pounds of espresso. We let it macerate for 3 weeks. So it is I know. I'm like, I'm gonna have to send you guys a bottle to try it out. Definitely send you guys a bottle of it if you like coffee.
Yes.
Hi, I'm a banker. I'll drink coffee every day.
I'll just send you guys out a bottle of it, but it's amazing. It's caffeinated. For every ounce of it, there's the equivalent of a 10-ounce cup of coffee caffeine-wise. So it's alcoholic, caffeinated. It's just good. You can put it in your coffee, and it makes people 70% more tolerable. So,
is that the proven scale there? It's
living proof that people are more tolerable when you drink coffee liqueur.
I like you mentioned that you had the barrel finished gin, and it's the longest barrel finish of any gin in the States, you said.
In the US, actually, at this point. So we're the longest barrel finished gin in the US. And we're a little bit different because I know Tommy Rotter, they're one of our neighbors. They do one as well, but they leave theirs at barrel proof. I haven't tried theirs, but I think that they use a bourbon barrel, and so does Black Button. We just use a virgin 3-char oak barrel from the cooperage up in the Adirondacks. So ours is very like you're aging gin the way that you age a bourbon. It's fantastic because to me, the way I approach it to people is for the gin drinker that wants to get into bourbon or the bourbon drinker that wants to approach gin. You can do any cocktail with it that you would with gin or bourbon. It makes a fantastic old fashioned. It's great. And I mean, we have an Amaro too, which is an Italian digestif. That is really good in a black Manhattan with some rye. It's amazing. So we do a lot of different products. And again, it's been fun to learn these things because I'm like, my background is not in Italian digestifs, not in coffee liqueur, not in gin. So I'm like, all right, this is all new to me. And it's almost like a little adventure every day when I go in and I'm like, yeah, this is what we're doing today.
Because every state is different and laws are different and they change in the way as the wind blows. But you have a really nice website. Are you guys selling online? Are there states you can't sell to?
So here's the thing is we actually just went over this too. Wine can sell direct to consumer. Liquor cannot. Distilleries cannot sell Certain states, I think you can. They're actually, this is a huge thing. We're a part of the Distillers Guild in New York State. We've been fighting this for a while.
Yeah.
We want to be able to sell direct to consumer, but with the laws, with distribution, distributors, they're saying, they're trying to argue that it's going to take money out of their pockets. But I'm like, all right, our argument is, if we have somebody in Idaho that wants it and it's not carried in that state, why shouldn't we be allowed to ship that over to them?
Right. Yeah.
You know, I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
So we're working on that. It's something that, you know, I'm heading to the Catskill Mountains in March to have a huge conference about it. We've been fighting it for a while. Bourbon Pursuit is one of the podcasts that I've listened to since I got into bourbon. It was suggested to me so that I can learn about it. They were just talking about it the other day. I think maybe I'm incorrect if I heard it incorrectly, but California is on the brink of passing it that distilleries can sell direct to consumers and ship direct to consumers.
Okay.
So it's this whole, it's a pain in the butt. And like, I would love to be able to, but certain states you can't. Certain states I think you can. But that was one of the things I have to actually look into and get back to my boss about, because I was like, I think we might be able to, and that's actually on my to-do list.
Somebody does homework.
Didn't do. I was supposed to do that yesterday and I didn't do it. So yeah.
So we just spent the past 26 or so minutes talking about spirits.
Yeah.
And we, you know, before we went on, we had, you know, sent out a few messages saying, hey, it's a gimlet night.
Yeah.
However,
You're calling an audible.
You called an audible.
So
we're actually going to do your drink, because ladies first in our world. And then we're going to do the gimlet, and you're going to walk us through how to make that gimlet.
Because on the website, on your website, what's the website again?
It is lockhouse-distillery.com.
Lockhouse-distillery.com. You have some nice recipes to go with each of your spirits. And you know, I mean, if you have access to Lockhouse, well, use Lockhouse stuff. But if you don't, you know, you can pull in some pinch hitters. This is a gin that we love. Friend of ours. It's a Highclere Castle. Do you watch the Downton Abbey?
I don't know.
So Downton Abbey, well, you're familiar with Downton Abbey, right?
I'm very familiar. Yeah, I just never watched it.
Yeah. So the castle where they film it is actually Highclere Castle.
Interesting.
And so the botanicals that are used in this cat Adam von Gutken,
perfect.
He's from New
Hampshire,
yeah, something like that. He's up in New England there, and he partnered with Lord and Lady Carnarvon of Highclere Castle, and they came out with this. And the botanicals, most all the botanicals are from the Highclere Castle estate.
Interesting.
And here's the thing, Lord Carnarvon's like, he's a big whiskey guy. And he loves that whiskey finish, and most gins don't have that whiskey finish because of whiskey. Well, hang on. What they did, they added to the basket. They added these very special oats that are only grown, and the Highclere estate is known for their oats. They feed most of the horses in England with these Highclere Castle oats. They put oats in the basket, and that the oats add this finish to it, this oiliness, so it gives this more of a whiskey finish. It's gorgeous straight, and it's you know, I'm not you know, we want to promote Lockhouse too, but this is if you're looking for a gorgeous,
like that. So that's
the bottle's gorgeous, and the people are awesome. So we pulled an audible, and we pulled out the Highclere gin. But what cocktail do you want to do? So we'll get to a gimlet with that coming up. But what recipe are you calling up?
So this is one that I actually ended up making myself. So, well, I mean, it's not like an OG thing. Like, I've only done it. People have probably done it. We have this gin. It's called Cinnamon. So, people are very apprehensive about it when they see it, because you think pine meets cinnamon. So we're a New York style gin, which means that we're distilled with at least 10 different botanicals. We do marshmallow root, cassis, which is a type of cinnamon. We do garden sage, balsam fir. We do a lot of different botanicals with it. This guy right here, we distill with Vietnamese and Indonesian cinnamon bark. So this essentially is Fireball without the aggressive burn to it. It does not taste like gin. To me, it's more of a liqueur.
Okay.
Fantastic. So what I like to do with it, and anytime I do a cocktail class, I always do a cinnamon cider mule.
Oh,
So I was like, all right, we're gonna do that.
We got none of that here.
I know.
We got.
I'm like, what can I make that's gonna be interesting?
We don't got tin cups. We don't got.
I'm like, I have a shaker. I have apples. Like we're doing everything.
I love cider though.
We have the shaker.
Shaker's
That's about as far as it goes.
Cider and like this, like a hot cinnamon cider is like my holy grail in the autumn time.
That's like calling an audible and a hot toddy. You just do that.
Yes.
All right, so give us this. Now, what is it? What would you call this again?
It is going to be a cinnamon cider mule. Okay. If anybody has access to cinnamon, this is one of the best cocktails to make with it. It's my favorite, and I promise you, cinnamon does not taste like gin. So what I do is I slice up half an apple. I will take some of the slices, like a handful or so.
Does it matter? Does it matter what type of apple? Granny Smith or Red Delicious?
It depends. I like Granny Smith's, but right now I have Honeycrisp because that's what I eat. So I was like, I'm gonna do some Honeycrisp.
Fair enough.
You're gonna take it. You're gonna put it in that shaker, and you're gonna kind of muddle it in. Yep. Now you're gonna pour an ounce of the cinnamon. I like to wing it because sometimes you like a little more, sometimes you like a little less.
Jamie, Santa Claus.
A little bit more.
A little bit, and you put the whole thing in. So you're gonna kind of muddle the apples into the cinnamon.
Yeah.
Now, what you're gonna do? You're gonna take your cider. We actually have a cidery by us called Mayer Brothers, and I always feel like a jerk when I don't use them because they're like local. But I'm like, whatever. So you're gonna take it. And you're going to put a little bit in there. You're not going to put an excessive amount. I would say probably 2 ounces. Again, we're over here winging it because I didn't grab a jigger. You're going to shake that. We're going to shake it. I'm not a bartender, but we're shaking it. It's good. We're doing it. So you're going to take that and you are going to strain it into your cup. So
ice cube, no ice cube.
I actually have one of those round spears in here because I was like, all right, this thing won't actually melt that quickly.
All right.
Next, what you're gonna do, you're gonna take your ginger beer. I am very partial to Fever Tree.
Yeah.
I'm very partial to them. Mm-hmm. You're just gonna top this off with some of that ginger beer.
Okay.
Then you want to get fancy with it. You're gonna put some of those apple slices in there. It's gonna look real pretty. You can do like a cinnamon sugar rim too. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it. I'm not
gonna do it. No, you don't have to.
I was a little late on looking that up. So there you go. Cheers.
It's a nice cocktail. It's good for like this weather. Honestly, it's better hot, but I wasn't really trying to be like, let's go in the kitchen and heat it up on the stove. Yep. Super easy though, honestly. Just these two things alone. You put these together, put them in a crock pot on low. It is the best thing. It tastes like a little apple crisp is the best way I can describe it. But yeah, just the cinnamon apple mule. I mean, I don't really have mule glasses either, those mule cups, because I don't drink a lot.
It's got a beautiful color to it. It really does.
Yeah, like it's a really pretty cocktail. And like if I'm making these for a class, we will do simple syrup around the rim with a little bit of cinnamon sugar and like, just kind of put the apples on it. Yeah. It's a crowd pleaser because who doesn't like apple cider? And the cinnamon just gives it that really nice cinnamon kick to it and all those baking spices.
Right.
And again, it's not going to have that overpowering, like a fireball, like the aggressive burn to it. You're just going to have that really subtle, like, oh, this is nice. I like this.
Yeah. And me going on a ski trip in a couple of days. I'm a little slow on the uptake now. Okay, fine.
Is that recipe on the Lockhouse Distillery website?
So we will be updating it to be included on there.
Okay,
We're going to be redoing the website a little bit. Me and my boss, Tom, talked about that because we want to make it more user-friendly in the sense of if you are from New York City, because we are distributed in New York City, we want you to be able to go on there and click where you can find us.
Yep.
So we're going to be updating it. I want to update some of the cocktail recipes because this spirit specifically, before I came on, we were selling like 5 to 7 cases a month of it. Nobody really liked it. It was kind of a joke. We go through 35 to 40 now a month because I focus heavily on the cinnamon. I wanted to do something different. Coffee is kind of, again, our flagship, our coffee and our vodka, but why not make something popular that isn't moving when it's so easy. Literally 2 ingredients and you have a great cocktail. Right. And how often is it that you're going to a friend's house and you want to bring something with you. You don't want to stop and get 20 ingredients and then be like, oh shoot, I forgot this. It's 2 things. It's super easy. And also a lot of my accounts have taken that and have replaced Fireball with it because it's an easy shot. It's a really easy shot. And I mean, the kids like it. It's good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we saw the gimlet, and we've never done a gimlet. We haven't done because we partied with the Highclere Castle guys.
Yeah.
But we haven't really done a gin cocktail.
Right.
And so we wanted to do, and I'm like, the gimlet is a standard. Let's do.
It is a
do
classic.
So, you want to walk us through the recipe for a gimlet, and I'm gonna start pulling things into a shaker here.
I've got limes to cut.
Yeah. Okay, so the limes are cut. That's perfect. So you're
yeah.
gonna want to do about 2 ounces of gin in it. So give or take 2.5, depending on how boozy you want it.
All right.
You're gonna do like a half an ounce of lime juice. So I'm gonna say that that's gonna be like probably a whole lime because they're so tiny.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna do a half ounce of simple syrup. You're gonna put that all in the shaker. You're gonna shake that up until well, and then you're gonna just strain it. I like to put mine over ice because again, like I like everything cocktail wise chilled.
Yeah.
But you're gonna strain that into a cocktail cup, and you're gonna drink it. It's gonna be good.
All right. So we're squeezing the juice here.
Squeezing those nice little limes.
Those brand spanky new limes. How much you getting out of there? Those are winter limes. They are.
Yeah.
They're rock hard.
Yeah, that's what happens.
They're
leave them frozen in your car.
I set them on the heater for a reason, Mr. Flanagan.
Okay. Oh yeah, I was scolding you for having them on the freezer. Do we want to cheat a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead and cheat a little bit.
All right,
we'll add it to
cheat
this.
that out. Put that. Well, here. Let me open that. I got a Faco Plastico.
Look at that.
I know. I was like, crap. Do I go to the store and get limes? And I'm like, I really want to make this cinnamon cocktail because I feel like it's something that people haven't seen, and they're like, "What the heck is cinnamon?" And I'm like, "Let me enlighten you."
So the measure on the lime was a half, right?
Half ounce, give or take. I mean,
all right. So we did
less.
one, and so we'll make 2 cocktails.
Correct.
All right, and so and the simple syrup was a half as well.
It's going to be a half ounce as well. Yeah.
All right. So we got some. I just got some crappy store-bought simple syrup.
Yeah, we've
got to
the point where we actually make our own.
Do you blend yours down? Do you do blends and things in the simple syrups themselves?
Yep. Oh yeah. I'm very, again, like my biggest thing is if I'm making a cocktail, even like at home, I want it to be great. I don't like drinking things that are like half-assed,
right?
Or like, it's store-bought. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but if I'm like making it myself, it's gonna be like the full 9.
Yeah. Was it 2 ounces of gin?
2 to 2.5, depending on how boozy you want it.
All right, 2.
So one of our good friends of the Man Cave, Tara, was actually just named one of the top 100 bartenders of the Midwest.
Really?
Of the country. Of the country. She's representing. She's like one of a handful from the Midwest.
From the Midwest. Yeah. But she makes her own syrups. And
it's astounding.
It's just amazing
stuff.
Oh,
yeah. You can do so much with it, honestly, because I've done cocktail classes where it's been like, we've done a mule before with our vodka. It was a cranberry mule, and we made a cranberry simple syrup. And it wasn't hard to make at all, but it was amazing.
Wow.
All right. So juices you shake. Anything with the juice in it, you shake. Yep. Anything that's just spirits, you spin. You stir. Spin. That's the technical name for it. It's you spin them. So just if you didn't know that, we figured we'd mansplain that to you.
Yep.
Yeah, that was another one of your things. You're like, if one more dude tries to mansplain bourbon to me,
I'm like, guy, I know more than you. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk or
And that's the thing. You're super safe with Matthew and I because we don't know nothing about nothing. So
I would love to hear it.
Yeah. So that's what we turn. That's the whole purpose of the Man Cave. We turn to people who know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
To get the information, get professionals, and this is looking frothy and fun. This looks frothy and fun, and it looks pretty big. It's like, thank God I got a snow day tomorrow and I don't have to go to school. Is all I'm saying.
Oh,
Jamie, you're driving me home.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Oh, that's it. All right, and here we are. Oh, you're supposed to decorate it with a lime wedge.
No,
cut that.
What we think of this, because I do love a good gin gimlet. I won't lie, it's good.
Never done the gimlet. We did. I forget what we did. Or did A rusty. No, that was with scotch. Rusty
with
nails
scotch.
with scotch. I don't
Yes.
even know what we did. All right.
So
There we
are.
are. Oh, hang on. Let me
looks nice.
let me get the
Yeah,
there we go.
get that.
Back to that.
There we
And then so all right. Cheers, Matthew.
Cheers, Rachel.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Chief One Love.
Chief One Love is here. Ooh, that's light.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
It's nice because it's not overpowering, and neither is like the lime because you're not using too much. What I actually like doing with Lockhouses, because we're a botanical forward, instead of using limes, I use cucumbers to really bring out those botanicals.
Ooh.
But like muddling a cucumber, I do a little bit of club soda and then the gin. You really taste all the botanicals in it. Yeah. Something like a normal gin. Is that like a London dry gin or an English gin?
It's a London dry.
Okay. So London dry, I like lime in it because I feel like it really kind of complements the gin.
Yeah.
New York style, I really feel like a muddled cucumber complements the gin a little bit better.
Wow.
Any plans for Lockhouse to make its way to the Midwest, to Michigan specifically?
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. All right. If you do, and you find yourself out on a sales trail, you gotta look us up.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% will. Like, that's why I'm loving doing all these, because I'm like, all right, now I'm getting like little connections in different places that I'm like, cool. If I go out, I can be like, here, I got you this. Here, show me around.
We've helped launch. We did the launches for 2 different ones. We did Joe Louis Bourbon, and then we did 3-Chord Bourbon here in Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, I know 3-Chord. Tony DeYoung. I used to work for him for Deep Eddy. I worked for him a while ago. Him and Paul Nanula now run 3-Chord. Yeah. They're very, very prominent in the Buffalo market as well. Awesome. Tony did a fantastic job really building that brand up in this area. I mean, anything I feel like he touches just kind of like turns to gold. He does a fantastic job. And that's one of the people that I actually like. I was like, wow, I just kind of have to like morph myself into kind of the way he is to really be successful in this industry. And he's always been the person to be like, kid, if you need any help, like reach out. I'm a phone call away. And he's always been fantastic. Yeah.
All right. So as I was spinning our cocktail, Wayne checked in. He's like, I learned that in spin class. So yeah, thanks for checking in, Wayne. We appreciate when people join us in the Man Cave.
You know, it'd be a lot of fun on the rim of this. A sugar rim.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because again, the simple syrup, you're adding that subtle sweetness to it. So you have like a pure sugar cane rim, like put some simple syrup around the rim and then dip it in sugar. Fantastic.
I could just see me doing that. I'll put an umbrella in it and I'm done.
Rachel, we got to hang out and drink cocktails more often.
Yes. I agree. This is fun.
We appreciate you taking the time. Sorry we were so late getting rolling.
Oh my gosh, no, honestly, never apologize because everybody's time is very precious and I never want to like cut anybody short or be like, this is my time. Like I got it. I fully get it.
It's
and
we appreciate you.
And thank you for cutting your spin class short 30 minutes.
Oh my god, yeah. I cut my spin class short. I was like, I gotta go, I'm leaving, and they're just kind of like, and I'm like, I have a podcast. I gotta go. Bye.
I gotta go talk to these old.
What is that? What is this podcast thing?
What's up?
Yeah, they're like, what do you mean you're doing a podcast? I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm doing a podcast. It's fine.
You'll hear it later. Awesome. Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
So it's Buffalo Bourbon Babe on Instagram.
Yeah, it is.
LockhouseDistillery.com on the web. And so there's a bar there. People can come in and see you and see operations and get some cocktails. If you're in the Buffalo area, you got to look it up. Yes. It's 5 hours and 32 minutes from here. Not that I looked it up or anything.
Not that I checked it out, but
I googled that.
Is that going through
directions?
Is that going through Canada?
Yeah, no. We got to stay stateside, but yeah. So, Rachel, again, thank you, and we'll see you again in the Man Cave.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Appreciate it.